For generations, Americans were told a simple story. Work hard, show up on time, stay loyal, and life would slowly get better. Not rich, not extravagant, just stable. A home that felt secure, a family you could provide for, a sense that each year of effort moved you slightly forward. That promise shaped entire lives. It guided career choices, sacrifices, and long hours spent chasing something called the American dream. And for a long time, that promise felt real. But somewhere along the way, it began to crack. Today, millions of people are working harder than ever before. Longer hours, fewer breaks, more stress. Yet instead of moving ahead, many are falling behind. This is not a story about laziness. It's not about people refusing to work. This is a story about a system that quietly changed, while people kept playing by the old rules. There was a time when effort translated into security. A single income could support a household. Wages rose alongside productivity. Costs were predictable, and life felt manageable. Hard work wasn't glamorous. It wasn't viral or exciting. But it worked. Factories, offices, local businesses, the backbone of everyday life. People didn't expect to become wealthy overnight. They expected fairness. Work hard, and you could build something slowly. A future that made sense. And for a while, that expectation wasn't naive. It was grounded in reality. But the economy didn't stay frozen in that moment. It changed. And most people didn't notice the shift as it happened. Only when the gap between effort and reward became impossible to ignore. Over time, something subtle but powerful occurred. Productivity kept rising. People produced more value than ever before. Technology improved. Efficiency increased. Output grew. But wages stopped keeping pace. The reward for hard work slowly drifted upward, away from workers, towards systems, institutions, and capital. Meanwhile, the cost of living didn't slow down. Housing prices climbed. Healthcare became more expensive. Education turned into long-term debt. Transportation costs rose quietly but consistently. Everything essential became harder to afford. While effort stayed priced the same, people didn't stop working hard. The system simply stopped rewarding it the way it once did. Today, many people feel constantly busy. Side hustles, overtime, gig work, multiple income streams. On the surface, it looks productive. It looks ambitious. But in reality, it's often survival. Working more hours no longer guarantees moving forward. It often just prevents falling backward. Effort became maintenance. And maintenance doesn't feel like progress. It feels exhausting. People aren't working harder to get ahead. They're working harder just to stay afloat. When wages stopped covering reality, debt stepped in. Credit cards, student loans, buy now pay later plans. Debt didn't feel dangerous at first. It felt helpful. A bridge between effort and lifestyle. A way to keep living the promised life. Just slightly delayed. But debt doesn't create progress. It only postpones consequences. Each month, the gap grew quietly, and the longer it lasted, the harder it became to escape. What once felt temporary slowly turned permanent. Here's the uncomfortable truth. The modern economy doesn't reward effort equally. It rewards ownership over labor, capital over time, systems over individuals. Hard work still matters, but it matters far less than it used to. Not because people changed, because incentives did. The rules evolved, but expectations didn't. And millions are still measuring themselves by standards that no longer apply. This isn't just financial, it's psychological. People blame themselves. I should be further by now. I must be doing something wrong. Burnout rises. Anxiety spreads. Trust erodes. Not because people are failing, but because the promise they were chasing was never updated. They're still running toward a version of stability that no longer exists in its original form. And that realization comes with a quiet, emotional cost. Over time, something else quietly changed. Struggle became normal. What once felt temporary began to feel permanent. Long hours were no longer a phase. Stress was no longer a warning sign. It became the baseline. Being constantly tired turned into a personality. Being financially stretched became a shared joke. And living with uncertainty became something people were expected to manage, not question. Slowly, the line between effort and exhaustion disappeared. People learned to adapt instead of asking why. They optimized schedules, cut personal time, delayed rest, and redefined normal downward. Not because it was healthy, but because there was no visible alternative. In this environment, stability stopped feeling like a right. It started feeling like a privilege. Those who managed to stay afloat were seen as successful, even if they were only one emergency away from falling behind. And those who struggled weren't viewed as victims of a changing system. They were viewed as personal failures. The narrative shifted quietly. If you were exhausted, you needed better discipline. If you were stressed, you needed better mindset. If you were behind, you needed better habits. Structural pressure was reframed as individual weakness. And when pressure is internalized this way, it becomes invisible. People stop asking, what's wrong with the system? They start asking, what's wrong with themselves? That's how expectations collapse without protest. Because when strain feels universal, it stops feeling unjust. And when everyone is struggling, struggle feels normal. This normalization of pressure is perhaps the most dangerous shift of all. Not because it makes life harder, but because it makes hardship feel deserved. So the question isn't, why don't people work harder? The real question is this: why does hard work no longer guarantee stability? And what happens when an entire society realizes that effort alone is no longer enough? What replaces the promise that once defined success? Hard work was never the problem. The system changed, and the sooner that truth is understood, the sooner people can stop blaming themselves and start asking better questions. Because effort still matters. But understanding the system matters more. Everyone experiences this system differently. If you've noticed this shift in your own life, you're welcome to share your perspective below. This channel is a space for observation, not judgment.